We are back. President Obama has a comfortable 26-point lead over Governor Romney among voters between the ages of 18 and 34. But the president will need more than youth votes. He needs their enthusiasm. And he is currently facing an 18-point enthusiasm deficit among young voters compared to the same point in 2008. Which could mean the loss of the real youth contribution, one that was key to President Obama's victory 4 years ago. So first, their labor, voting literally with their feet and working as volunteers on the ground. Second, young people use technology and social media in a way that completely changed the game for the Obama campaign and all future elections. And lastly, our popular imagination of candidate Obama in 2008 was largely shaped by young people who constructed a culture of cool around him. So yes, President Obama needs every vote he can get, but when it comes to young people, what he needs more is their passion. Still with me, young vote, or rather youth vote strategist Jesse Tolkien and Politico's Abby Phillip. And also joining them now are former Louisiana Governor Buddy Roemer, who is now an independent presidential candidate, and Tyler Trumbach, chairman of Columbia University's Young Americans for Freedom, a youth conservative libertarian organization. He is also the outgoing president of the Columbia University College Republicans. Thanks to all of you all for being here. So I just pointed out that the youth vote, while important, is rarely key. And in fact, in a recent poll, people were asked, are you definitely going to vote in November? And it is young people who are still kind of, hovering around the 50%. Our parents and grandparents are all definitely going to show up. So it feels like the enthusiasm, the action of young people is at least as important as their vote. So you are enthused about Mitt Romney, which is why I want you on my show. So please tell me, seriously, decode for me the enthusiasm around Mitt Romney as a candidate.
I think before the primary was settled, I don't think there's a lot of enthusiasm about Mitt Romney. There's a lot of enthusiasm about the election because it was a chance to get rid of President Obama. And I think now that Mitt Romney, has won the nomination, the students on campus who are conservative are going to unite behind him, and they're very excited simply because it's a chance to unseat President Obama. And this election is all about unseating President Obama. And Mitt Romney, is a relatively conservative candidate. I will say that he's very conservative. There were people in 2004 that said he was 2008 that said he was the most conservative candidate in that primary. And there's the same people today saying he's now a moderate or a liberal.
Well, I mean, compared to John McCain, he very well may have been the most conservative, yes. And compared to Rick Santorum, was more moderate. But it's interesting that you bring up the point of kind of defeating President Obama, because it does feel like, for example, in 2004, for Democratic young voters, it was less about enthusiasm about John Kerry, woo, than it was really just about, like, we must get George W. Bush out of office for young people at that moment. But students at Tulane get very excited when you come to campus, and there is a real enthusiasm about your candidacy in ways that feels like the sort of enthusiasm vote that I have sometimes, or enthusiastic response that I have sometimes seen. I doubt that you're going to win the U.S. presidency, although you never know. And yet there's something, it feels like, that maybe you've captured with young people that these other candidates might also be able to learn from.
Well, when I go to Tulane, for example, as I did a week ago, huge crowd. They realized that when I was governor, we handled student loans. Here's how we did it. No loans. We gave full college tuition for in-state students who wanted to go to in-state colleges. They didn't pay any interest. They had to have a C average out of high school, and they had to have the economic stress that required some assistance. Mm-hmm. And thousands and thousands and thousands of Louisiana students have not gotten loans. They've gotten full tuition.
Now, and that's therefore education.
That was in 1988, when this subject wasn't even talked about in America. Mm-hmm. And I think this country's in trouble. And I know who's going to save it. It's not going to be the old granddads like me. It's not going to be the rich cats on Wall Street. It's not going to be the lobbyists on K Streets. It's going to be young people. They changed the world. Civil rights, I was there. I'm an old man. I'm 68. I remember growing up on a cotton farm and marching when I was a kid with my mama and daddy in those marches. And young people changed America. Dr. Martin Luther King was 26 years old when he was leading that march. And I remember being in college when we stopped the Vietnam War. Just guys like me, just skinny, little fuzzy-headed guys out in the street. And I think the same thing's true about America. I think this country's in trouble. And I'm not putting Obama down, but I don't think the economic policies are good. This is the weakest recovery in the history of our country. And it was said right here by this young lady when she put her finger on it. The biggest problem with student loans is the lack of jobs. Because with that, you don't drive anything in this economy.
Jesse, actually, I want to be able to pull you in on this just a little bit. Yeah, sure. In part because you were, in 2008, working really hard to register young voters for President Obama. Will you be back out there doing that sort of thing again?
Well, I've actually spent a decade trying to increase the power of the youth vote. In 2004, historic 11% increase, another historic increase in 2008. In 2008, I was actually registering voters who wanted a clean and just energy economy. And in turn, that meant supporting Barack Obama for president. There is no question in my mind that Barack Obama is the better candidate for my generation, for millennials. And he had an all-star week. This week, President Obama looked like candidate Obama from 2008. I think a challenge is for a lot of young people. President Obama didn't look so much like candidate Obama for the past several years, right? He wasn't front and center on the issues that young people care about. Now, he came back blazing this week. and there is no question that I think fundamentally for this country, making sure that young people participate in the electoral process in historic rates is critical. And so this is why I think it's so important. You know, young people like Buddy because Buddy pays attention to young people. He shows up. He talks about their issues. It's devastating to look that in this Republican primary, we have seen historically low levels of youth voter participation.
So make the case for me. I mean, because I think that's right. We have seen historically low levels in the primary. So make the case for me.
I mean, again, it's a primary. I mean, you look at youth vote. Youth vote don't generally turn out unless it's a major presidential election. Generally, I mean, you look at 2010. But what I'm seeing right now on campus is most people are apolitical on campus, and they're politically apathetic. And right now what I'm seeing is a lot of people that are disenchanted with President Obama. And they're not going to come out to vote because, you know, they're not excited by him.
And is it primarily about the jobs? Is it primarily an economic question, or is it about the enthusiasm issue?
It's jobs and the economy. It's not the economy is not picking up at the pace it should be. You know, they're not getting jobs. I mean, youth unemployment is double the rate of regular unemployment. I mean, it's very difficult for even, Columbia University graduate to find jobs.
Does the promise around this, right? This is our tower of debt that has fallen here in the middle, right? Does the promise around the trying to do something to address student loan debt, does that resonate for people?
You know, it does. And I think, you know, the first person to address the real issue, I think, with student debt, it's not the interest rates. It's not keeping interest rates from 3.4 to 6.8. It's dealing with the principal on the interest. Because, you know, 6.8, you know, isn't that much different than 3.4 unless you're talking about $50,000 a year. You know, how are you going to pay that back when you get a job out of college paying $40,000 a year?
Buddy said in the break, he was like, do you know how long it takes to pay back at 5% interest $1 trillion? Stay right there. Up next, we're going to play with dolls to explain how the youth vote might really be captured. It'll all make sense, I promise, right after the break. But you got to come back to see it.